ready for another lesson?
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Back Row Banter, your favorite casual movie talk podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Adam Schwartz, and on this week's episode, we'll be talking about the movie Sorry to Bother You. But of course, before we get to any of that, I'm joined today by equestrian Nathaniel Gingrich.
Sorry to bother you. I was just wondering if you would need a new podcast co-host at any time here. I'm equestrian Nathaniel. You might know me as the #1 equestrian podcaster out there.
That'd be pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Well,
Are you podcasting while you're equestrian?
Yes. At all times.
I'm a verb.
I'm a man in the field, A real live reporter. So, no further questions at this time. Thank you.
Live reporter. Do you know what equestrian means?
Yes.
You have an English degree, I would hope. Then I'm confused. Live.
That's
I'm just trying to make a joke of like live in the field, right? field like horse field, and field like field reporter. Is that you're trying to make a bridge joke there? Okay.
Yeah. Yes, correct.
I just it was a little too simple for my brain. I thought you were doing elevated humor, and you were right where I expected you to be.
That's me. I'm a lowbrow kind of guy.
Hey, lowbrow kind of weak,
Yeah. Farts.
Middle of February.
Farts are the height of comedy to me.
Kind of getting to the heart of the grind of the year where it's not anything exciting on the horizon. Summer's still a ways away.
How
it's
dare you?
Sloshy and kind of cold. How dare I?
Hey,
February
is staying bright outside a
good
little longer though, man. You gotta give us some credit somewhere.
Hey, you know what? That's a good point. Things are looking up on that front. Yeah, things are looking up
outside.
On that front.
It's like 5:30 and it's not dark yet.
It's not that dark. Things are looking up. Things are looking up.
Always.
That's a good point. Always staying optimistic, Blake. I love it.
Yeah, if I could apply that to my real life, I think I'd be these fellas.
Dude, it's always easier said than done, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Also joining us today is telemarketer Tyler Verdalis.
What's going on?
Are you phoning it in today, Ty?
Yeah, sure. I'm always phoning in.
That was a telemarketer joke.
I'm aware.
Well, especially because we're remote this week.
That's true.
Little peek behind the curtain. We're all phoning in this week.
Phoning in now, yeah. Currently phoning in.
He's in the act. Caught him in the act. Anyone ever done any kind of telemarketing of any sorts?
I mean, we call leads.
Yeah.
Over the
cold calls?
Over the telephone. Some
I think
days.
that's probably the closest any of us have probably been to that. I don't know. It's like Tyler always comes out with like these stories like, yeah, I did like telemarketing for like a year or two when I was like 18.
Yeah, right.
Like he's always got some kind of story.
I'm trying to think if I have. I don't think I have.
Did anyone watch that series, Telemarketers, on HBO? I think it maybe came out within the last 6 months or so. It was a good one.
That's not even ringing a bell, bro. Yeah.
I watched it. I talked about it on the pod, but it's all right. No worries.
You did, didn't you?
I did.
Now that you say that, you talked about it on the pod, it makes it somewhat funny, but I still have not watched it.
Yeah.
Sounds forgettable.
I would recommend. Yeah, it was good. It was good.
Okay. Cool. Rounding out the squadron today, of course, is big power caller BlakeHolder.
Hey, what up?
How's all that power call?
Hold on,
going,
wait. Let me get the air horn in here.
Big PC Blake.
There we go. Power caller.
There we go, man. Yeah. I like it. How's everyone doing, man? Decent weekend. Super Bowl, I'm sure.
Super Bowl, yeah. How'd that go for everybody?
Well, Adam, you're
Tyler and Nathaniel
technically
all
a
together.
Chiefs fan, right?
They're like I'll consider them like a number 2 team. I have a hard time saying I'm like a full Chiefs fan because it's not a team like I'm actively rooting for, but it's a team I like to see win. Does that make sense?
Sure. So how do you How do you feel? Right,
Hey.
repeat 3 championships in.
You know, I think it's. I was having this conversation with Noah too, who's from Kansas City, and
Okay.
is a diehard Kansas Chiefs fan to the point
Right.
where this
Born
is
and raised.
this is a tangential story, but one that I think is cool to share. His parents met randomly at a Chiefs game. They sat next to each other, hit it off, and that's how
Oh,
his parents
wow.
met.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
nice.
so, like,
That's
that's
a nice
Love
story.
to
Yes.
hear it, for
right,
sure.
right. And his parents are lovely people. Shout out to Bill and Sharon Adams. But
Noah 3
talking to
and 4.
Noah too. Sure.
No, Noah Prime and Noah Prime B.
Yeah, right.
Talking to him about this, and I think the Chiefs are getting a lot of comparisons to, like, oh, it's New England and Tom Brady all over again. Like, we just
Sure.
got done with that. Now we have to deal with this.
Whatever.
And objectively speaking, I think even if I didn't go to school in Missouri, like, I don't think I would have as much of a problem with the Chiefs being this kind of dynasty, which I feel like you can call them a dynasty now. 3 and 5
for
years,
sure.
3 and 4 years.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
it's a small market
trips
team.
in 4, right? Trips in
Trips in
4,
four,
3 wins.
Yeah, right. So for me, I'm like, it's a Kansas City, which, like, when's the last time? The Royals in 2015 is the only time I can think of where, like,
Well, that's what I
it's
was.
a small market team
That's what
that
I was.
hasn't had a lot of success.
That's what I was going to ask. Was there a time that the Chiefs were ever, like, good? Had they won one before they kind of went on this run here?
This is
Oh,
their
that's a great question.
fourth.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure this is only their 4th Super Bowl win.
Okay, so they may have something in like
Like a
the
random
80s
one.
or something.
Yeah, they won in
I don't-
they won in 1970. They won Super Bowl 4.
Okay.
All right. So
Yeah,
there
see,
you
I
go.
would have never guessed that. But I mean,
Yeah.
even from my childhood growing up, I mean, they had a few years of being pretty bad. But for the most part, they were always respectable. It wasn't like we were dealing with
I remember them as a
right,
mid-market
Jacksonville
team.
Jaguars.
Yeah,
Something
yeah.
like that. Yeah, right. They were decent. They were always decent.
But
And now
you know, regardless, Kansas
mhm.
City is a pretty small market. They only have the
Sure,
Chiefs and
for
they
sure.
have the Royals, and I think those are the only 2 professional teams they have. To have a team from that small of a market have a dynasty and have sustained success is pretty impressive. And I you know, it's hard to root for me. It's like hard to root against that when it's not
Yeah.
like it's New England, where, like, New England wins a lot of stuff, both whatever sport, pick a sport. Like, they've got good teams for the most part in those
Mhm.
sports, and have seen a lot of success, especially in the last 2 decades. In, like, recent memory, like, Boston and New England have had a lot of success. So Kansas City, I don't think it's a team, like, I can understand the whole, like, we had Tom Brady and now we have to deal with Patrick Mahomes. Like, I kind of get that. But to me, Patrick Mahomes is a lot more likable than Tom Brady overall. And Kansas
Yeah,
City is a more likable
sure.
team and city than the New England Patriots. So, like, that's where I kind of stand.
I hear what you're
Regardless
saying.
of,
It
like,
makes
my
sense.
affiliations to the Chiefs. So I'm feeling pretty good. I think, and also I think the Niners have the most Super Bowls. So, like, I don't know. That's
Yeah,
not
yeah. Maybe the Patriots, to be honest, because they got right off the rip.
who
But yeah, I would imagine that the
team
Niners
has
are
the
definitely up there
most Super Bowl
between
wins? Oh, the
Steve
Patriots
Young
do have
and
the
Joe
most.
Montana.
With 6. Okay.
That's at least got to be 5, right? Between Joe Montana and Steve Young. So, right, 4 or 5, something like that.
Patriots and Steelers, I guess, are 6, and then the Niners have 5, and the Cowboys are tied with
Yeah.
5. So,
yeah.
you know,
I hear you,
didn't really
man.
need to see them win. But yeah. And relatively good and entertaining game, I would say. I mean, it's pretty close all the way through.
Yeah,
Wasn't
man.
the most exciting football game I've ever watched, or exciting Super Bowl, but, like, wasn't a blowout. So, you know, had your attention the whole time at least. And I think that's
For
all you
sure,
can really
man.
ask for.
They're a good team. I'd say the outcome is about as expected. They've been there so many times between AFC Championship games, like what you've seen against the Ravens in previous years.
Right.
And then yesterday as well, and going back previous years, the moment's just never too big for the Chiefs. So I don't think
Right.
there's ever at any point in these, I don't think those doubts even come about in people's mindsets, you know. So it's tough, man. It's tough to defeat a team like that, right?
I don't know. They
Who
look like they were
hasn't really
falling apart there for a minute.
First half. a little
for
bit.
a minute in the second quarter, it looked like it, and then like
Travis Kelce
halftime, they kind of
fucking
made their adjustments.
shoving Andy Reid.
Yeah, that's the first
Yeah, that
time where
was
I was like,
weird.
"Oh, they seem like they're a little out of character right now, right?" But then I
yeah,
think
that did
halftime they
seem a
cleaned
little
that shit
weird.
up,
The script,
had some
baby.
meetings, and then yeah, right, and then they did it, man. So I would say when it came down to the drive to send it to OT, right? So the Chiefs had the ball and had to go like 90 something yards. It's definitely like they got the ball at like the 3-yard line, and they're definitely going to go down and get a field goal, right? Like I think everyone was just kind of just on the side of that,
Right.
and then when it came to OT and the Niners get the field goal and the Chiefs got the ball back, everyone's on the side of like, well, they're just going to go down and score. And I think that's
Right.
how they feel as well as a team. So that just leads to easier play calling. You know, you're
when
just
you have that
always,
confidence.
there's no worries. Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. So
I mean, they had 4th and 1, and it was just like, oh yeah,
they're like, fuck it,
Mahomes
we're
is
going
just gonna
for it.
run the ball. Yeah, like, yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well,
We'll see, man.
did you have a good Super Bowl party, Blake? Though me, Ty, and Ty, and Nathaniel were all at Ty's. Again, thank you for hosting.
I was
It was a good
at
time
my
over there to
buddy's.
see all those people.
Yeah, it was cool. So yeah, he just actually because you met him, Jordan, he came by. He just bought that condo. He bought those TVs.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So yeah, he just kind of got his spot up and running. So that was kind of the first time we've all been over there. So he had a little something,
Cool.
food and games there.
Good spot.
So yeah, not bad. It's in Forest Park, so it's maybe about 20 minutes south of me. It's like just east of O'Hare.
Okay.
Right, maybe just like southeast of O'Hare, so near kind of close like Brookfield Zoo in that ballpark area. Right.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it was cool. Went over there and had some food, but then actually just watched a repeat. So, man.
Cool.
Let's talk about the movie.
Ty or Nathaniel, you guys have anything else you want to say about Super Bowl?
Thought I made my point clear.
What was your point?
Real quick, while we're on the
let's talk about
sports
movies.
aspect, before we run to the movie, in the boxing MMA world,
Okay.
I believe we're getting a Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia fight, Nathaniel. That may be of interest to you.
That is what I heard. Yeah.
That's kind of what the rumblings are saying. I don't know if it's set in stone, but I think they were chatting about sometime in June.
I want to say it was at least like announced so far. So I think it's
so they've got it set in stone. Okay.
Yeah. Now, last time Garcia fought, was that when he lost to Tank Davis, or has he fought since then?
I'm not sure. I believe so. I believe the last fight was to Tank, though.
Okay. So yeah, that'll be interesting. I mean, Haney's a smooth operator, doesn't really get hit much, so
yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, we can jump in. That was the sports segment. We can now jump into the movie.
Love a good sports segment, but I also love a good review segment. Welcome, listeners, to the main review segment of the podcast. Nathaniel, if listener here is new, or maybe they've just forgotten, you can give them a rundown of how the review segment works.
Oh, you want a rundown of how the review segment works?
I thought I made myself clear.
Well, here on Back Row Banter, it is split into two sections. There's the non-spoiler section, and then there's the spoiler section. It's pretty self-explanatory. In the non-spoiler section, we'll go over the movie's IMDb page, who wrote it, who directed it, who's in it. We'll go around the squadron and decide if we would recommend this movie. It has to be a yes or no. There is no nuance on the internet. From then on, it'll be spoiler time. I'll play a spoiler noise, and if you don't want to have anything spoiled for you, you can check the show notes where everything will be time-coded out for you. At that point, it'll be all spoilers. We'll go into any big plot spoilers or twists. And just dive right into it. And if you don't want to have anything spoiled for you, or you want to dip out and come back, do come back for our Entropy list, which is our big list of everything we've watched on the podcast, ranked. With that being said, Adam, tell me about. Sorry to bother you.
I would love to. Don't know why that ending was so slow. I was a little lost there, but welcome, listeners. Yeah,
I was just drawing you in, man. I was using my sales voice there to keep you on your edge.
Oh, was it?
You didn't realize that? Yeah.
I did not. This is Sorry to Bother You, released in the year 2018. It's rated R with a runtime of 1 hour and 52 minutes and an IMDb rating of 6.9 out of 10. Directed by Boots Riley, who, as I'm looking at his IMDb, is a Chicago native. So shout out Boots.
Hey, shout
Um,
out.
But as I'm also looking at his IMDb, this is one of like 4 projects that he's worked on.
Much
2 of them
more-
being a music video.
Yeah, much more a musician than he is
Yeah,
a visual artist.
which is very interesting. Because there's a lot of like it. We'll get into it, but a lot of things going on here that I would not expect for this to be like, oh, I'm just gonna try out making a movie. But written and directed by Boots Riley. The cast includes, of course, Lakeith Stanfield and Tessa Thompson are our main people here. And then let me see if I can pick through all of the people. Jermaine Fowler is here as Salvador. He's one of the friends. Omari Hardwick is Mr. Blank. The dude with the mutton chops. Terry Crews is here for a little bit, not a lot. Don't expect a ton of them. Danny Glover makes an appearance.
Stephen Yeun.
Stephen Yeun
Yeah.
is also here, which like
Friend of the
interesting
pod.
to see him in this. Yeah, friend of the pod. Interesting to see him in this role now that he's had a lot more recent success since this movie. And then Armie Hammer is here as well, in a not so likable role, but and then I will also give shout out to David Cross and Patton Oswalt for being the white voices that we hear throughout the movie. And then Forrest Whitaker makes some kind of appearance. He's
Don't worry about it.
oh I won't yeah, he's Demarius. I'll leave it there. I think that's it. Am I missing anybody?
Works for me.
Rosario Dawson is the voice in the elevator.
Oh yeah, and Lily James is the white voice for Tessa Thompson's character.
Oh, okay. Well, there you have it.
That's it though.
That's very interesting cast. The IMDb summary reads as follows: in an alternate present-day version of Oakland, telemarketer Cassius Green discovers a magical key to professional success, propelling him into a universe of greed. Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty good summary. It's definitely not our world.
I mean, you say that, but are you sure?
But it's definitely about our world. I'll say that for sure. In terms of like, I do want to touch on that. We can almost start there. It's not our world. It feels kind of like a fever dream, similar to like Requiem for a Dream, where like there were some things there that quite didn't line up to like how reality would actually be, but are kind of just played up effects. And it's almost like this were a Black Mirror episode. Things are just kind of how they are, and they're not going to be one-to-one to kind of how regular life is, if that makes sense.
Very similar
sure.
to It Follows, which we just watched. It's in our world, but it's not.
Yeah,
not part
that's
of our universe. It's
I've
there's
definitely
very
different
subtle
aesthetic
hints.
than It
Yeah.
Follows, but like same kind of like thing where it's like it follows some kind of our laws and like our regular universe, but it's not quite. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's not quite the world we're living in,
Yeah,
but
I
it says a lot about the world we're living in.
I was thinking of this movie too as almost like this, like the bridge to like the like overly stylized comedies that we used to get in kind of like late 90s, early thousands, almost more like the like Austin Powers or like the
Right.
Undercover Brother, more where like just weird, absurd things would happen, but it was all just kind of accepted because it was within the world of a comedy and that kind of thing. And like you kind of got a little bit more leeway with it. Whereas like now I think that kind of area for the comedy has really kind of been replaced by either the like kind of quippy rom-com or like IP movie that masquerading as a comedy nowadays. But like I feel like this is in some ways a little bit of a throwback as well too, in the way that it kind of goes about its business overall.
I could agree with that.
Yeah, valid. So I guess kind of going around in this is I think Adam said this is his first time, correct?
This is correct.
And I think Ty as well. Nathaniel said you caught it.
Yeah, I didn't see this in theaters, but I saw it, I want to say, on streaming within a year or two of it being released.
Okay. Right. So I guess kind of talked. Well, we'll jump to that come spoilers. But yeah, like what are your brief thoughts? I guess going in blind, Adam. Did you have any idea? Are you going into this thinking this is like a straight comedy? Are you going into this thinking there's surrealism? What do you think?
I had no idea.
Or did
what
you
to
already
expect.
hear? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I knew this was somewhat of surrealism where I've seen clips of like the voiceover of the white voice.
Sure.
So like I kind of knew it wasn't going to be just like a regular kind of like, oh, we're watching this guy and like I don't know, it wasn't going to be our reality, based in our reality.
Right.
I didn't know it quite goes as far as it goes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
as
for
things
sure,
kind of
for
keep
sure.
ramping up, I'm kind of like more and more almost in awe. But yeah, in terms of like initial reactions, I don't want to. I don't want to say this in fear of like it could come across as almost a spoiler, even though it's not like necessarily anything explicit. But this movie is different watching it after the events of like 2020. This being released in 2018, I think would have had a different impact on me had I watched it in 2018. And we have Blake returning here. I don't know. Hopefully Ty, hopefully you're still here because they both walked away for a sec. All right, cool. But yeah, I think watching it now after 2020 and 2021, those kind of like crazy years that we had, I think I'm
sure.
reacting to it much differently than I would if I saw it pre 2020 and
For
2018
sure.
2019. I think there's a lot here that like this is almost too close to reality. Not, obviously it gets very fantasized in a lot of aspects, but the subjects and the themes and the events of the movie and in terms of what they're trying to say about reality almost came
Right.
true, a lot of it at least. So yeah, the movie feels more real than it probably should, and probably did to people watching in 2018 and 2019. And so it is a lot different than watching it now after everything that's gone on in the past few years, than it would have felt watching this movie pre-pandemic. So,
Yeah, I think this has more of an impact.
You think?
Yeah,
You
for
think?
me, than if I would have watched it in 2018. And I think a lot of it has to do with my journey through Best Buy.
Sure.
And being in the management aspect, seeing how a lot of that kind of inner working goes, and knowing the things that or
Sure.
kind of seeing the other side of things. And so yeah, I think this has more of an impact on me now than if I would have watched this in 2018. So
Kind of like
That's really interesting you say that,
how the sausage is made now in some
Yeah.
ways as well too. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, I
were you a
think
power caller?
First of all, I've always been in sales for the most part. I've always been told I've been good at sales.
yeah.
You are. I've seen it.
For sure.
Which is funny because in this movie, that's how they get you. They
Yeah.
constantly tell you
Right.
you're good at something. And
You know
Yeah.
what, Ty? Now that I think about it, you told me I was good at sales. So what does that say about you?
well, drink the Kool-Aid, baby.
I think like saying that this movie is very balanced for kind of like its cultural or societal commentary versus its kind of like political commentary as well too. Like it kind of
Yeah.
it does access everyone on that kind of like work fucking sucks and middle management's a bitch and like that kind of thing. And then
Yeah.
it does a really nice job of kind of marrying that with the hey, maybe they should pay you better. And maybe there are some other things that you should think about a little differently overall. I think it really nails that kind of like first step to kind of
Yeah.
get everyone on the same page.
Yeah, I would agree 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a lot more comments. Obviously, kind of once we get to spoilers.
Yeah, I was
'Cause
just
it is
about to
kind of
say.
hard to like TD around this.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was
Um,
about to say. Is if we have any like pre-spoiler thoughts, any more of those before we want to just jump right into it, because I think
Yeah.
this is a movie that leaves a lot to be said in the spoiler segment.
I
Right.
think if you haven't seen this yet and you haven't had anything spoiled for you, it's definitely worth a watch. I think it's like it is one of those ones that I feel like I can recommend wholeheartedly, knowing that probably 20 to 30% of people are going to come out of this being like, well, I didn't like that bit at the end or anything, but
right. Yeah.
I don't care. Like, like go watch it anyways. Even if you don't like the ending, like you should watch this movie and like kind of just check it out anyways.
Yeah,
just
if this
because-
doesn't, if you come out of this movie and you didn't get anything from it, then you missed it.
Right. Like,
Yeah.
and I think even too, like,
Good point.
You're focusing on the wrong things.
yeah. Yeah. And I wish there was more movies like this out here. And I wish there was more kind of like openings for art like this and for this kind of aesthetic style. And this, its goal is not to be in competition with an Oppenheimer or with a Killers of the Flower Moon, right? But that doesn't mean it's not any different in like its artistic aims whatsoever or anything like that, or like the message is trying to say or anything. So yeah, go see movies like this. I hope they make more like them. I hope people can like make more movies in a similar vein with a similar attitude or with the same
Oh man.
inspiration.
Yeah, I mean, I think as far as getting directors on board to kind of allow people to have that creative vision it's a leap. Do you know what I mean? So
Right,
shout out to the
especially now.
studio for even allowing something like this to go out. Yeah, for sure. Where this was what 6 years ago? We're now saying 5.5, 6 years ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, big kudos to the producing studio to kind of put some money behind this and let people create like original IP.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And
I was gonna
original
say,
thoughts is fucking beautiful.
yeah, like kind of just playing on like your point of this isn't your typical like Hollywood kind of stuff. It probably helps that Boots is been more in kind of the music.
Yeah. I mean, you see
And,
that.
he doesn't have to kind of follow the typical tropes that a director would fall into, or maybe he just doesn't. He obviously doesn't care either,
Right.
which is good. But yeah, I think that definitely helps him quite a bit to not come, or I guess succumb to the typical kind of Hollywood bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, you see that, I think, even particularly more in the art world than maybe anything else, right? Where, like, someone will have success in one particular genre or one particular medium, and then because of that success, they can move more easily to something else and give it a shot or try because they're coming with an inbuilt audience, right? Or a kind of like a known following in that sense. So, I think that buys you a little bit of an amount of leeway in some way, similar to like someone like Tom Ford coming in gets to direct Nocturnal Animals, which is still something that blows my mind to every day, that the dude that designs fashion is also that good at directing. But like, that's just crazy to me. But yeah, I mean, I think as a debut film, this is something that's really exciting for Boots, and like I will want to see what he does next. And I think it goes to show he's working from at the very least, very creative, exciting space, right? There's something that like even if you don't like this movie and it doesn't all come together for you for the end, it's hard to say that there's not something to like talk about it, right? In some ways, or something to dig into either.
Yeah, you're certainly going to have, as we are about to have a discussion about it, or at least want to talk about it to someone kind of. And that's kind of, if I remember correctly, I obviously didn't watch this in 2018, but that's kind of the buzz that it had around it.
Good
Hearing
word of
about
mouth.
it in 2018.
Yeah.
Great word of mouth. And it was kind of one of those movies like, hey, have you seen this? And it was kind of one of those things where it was like, I want to talk to you about this. One of those movies. And I think it was probably tossed around the store a few times, maybe even by Blake. 2018, that sounds about right.
Could be. Yeah, could be.
Yeah.
Could be.
but yeah, it was definitely one of those movies when it came out. I just remember the buzz around it when it launched or debuted.
Yeah,
And
a
then-
little as far as the original buzz when it first came out, it was kind of, I don't know what word I want to put on it in terms of how it was brought to the attention of the public is kind of like genre off-putting, if that's like the word I'm looking for, where it almost reads as like, yeah, like you want to watch like a fucking slapstick comedy. You know, like that's kind of
Sure.
what you almost walk into, and then you walk into the film and you're like, oh, this is totally not what I thought. So I think that was kind of off-putting to some people, I would imagine, because as we know, it takes that third act turn is it's a turn, you know, and if that's not something you were necessarily on, or susceptible to or open to, prior to going in, I mean, it could be a little.
Definitely. All right. Are we good to go into spoilers then?
I think
Yeah, it
so.
sounds like we got recommends.
Yeah, recommend all around. I'm definitely recommend it. I do think this is certainly worth watching. Anyone disagree?
No, I would definitely tell people to go watch this.
Cool. Well then, yeah, sounds like it's gonna be recommend all around. So if you've not seen, sorry to bother you, go ahead check that episode description where I've left a timestamp you could jump to, or you'll be taken to the ranking of the movie up upon our Entropy list. But without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and head into spoilers. Nathaniel, can you give me a spoiler noise? What you got cooking this week?
Right here. Record scratch.
Record scratch.
Freeze frame. Yep. That's me. You're probably wondering how I got here.
What movie is that like famous from?
A bunch of stuff from the
That's
90s.
like, yeah, that's like any 90s,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Opening fucking scene of the movie.
I feel like there's one that's like more famous than others, and it's not Ferris Bueller because I don't think that movie starts like that. That doesn't matter. Spoilers. So this movie goes places I really didn't expect it to go.
I didn't either. I
For
didn't watch
sure.
any trailers for this or anything. I just kind of started it up and let her ride, baby. And I'm glad I did.
So you're not saying you went in this expecting horsemen?
I was not.
Yeah, I don't think I was.
Yeah, wasn't on the bingo card, huh?
No, it really.
No, it wasn't
really
even
wasn't.
in the. It wasn't even an option.
Well, that's
sure.
that's something where I think, like, again, this movie sort of sets you up for the absurdity of the reveal in its like comedy style ahead of time, where like you're getting those like jokes of Cash and like he's like calling into someone's house, and then it's like cut to he is physically in their house with them or something like that, right?
The desk like drops down.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. And you get that one or two times, and then you kind of get the like multiple times where like someone will lead into one scene from the other, and it'll be this kind of like focus in on like a certain part of the scene and then focus out and the scene is done in transition, or like someone will say something that leads to some sort of like pan left in like a transition out of the scene. And then it makes this kind of like third act turn into complete absurdity of the plot. And like you're sort of set up to it because of these kind of weird comedy elements ahead of time, but you're also just sort of blindsided as well too. So I feel like I'm more forgiving because I feel like I was set up for it ahead of time, but I'm very interested with Tyler and Adam, this being your first watch, like how you just responded overall. Did that take you out of the movie at all, or were you just like rolling with it at that point?
Go ahead, Adam.
Okay. Yeah, when you say that point, do you mean like when the Equestria people
Yeah.
pop out,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
yeah?
I mean, that's really where it kind of becomes truly absurd. I mean, there's definitely jokey
Right.
parts ahead of that as well too.
Right. Yeah, there's absurd stuff before that to the point where you're kind of like, all right, this isn't like a real. Nothing here is like to be taken serious in the terms of like it's supposed to be real.
Right.
But yeah, and you're right. That's the full left turn into this is just absurd. I was not expecting it at all. It was kind of like a wow shock factor where I just didn't know what I was watching for a few moments, which is I think obviously the effect they have on you. It's not like this is hinted at any other point up until that scene. So the fact that it kind of comes out of nowhere like that is just a steep left turn into absurdist
Kinda
comedy at that point.
Tonally shifts as well too, where you're like,
Correct.
oh, all of a sudden I'm in a horror movie. What the hell is going
Right.
on?
And I also feel I feel very uncomfortable because I have the feeling of, oh, what he snorted was definitely the horse stuff. So at some point something's gonna
Right.
happen. Or is it the horse stuff? Because they do a good job of kind of going back and forth. Ultimately, I was like, this is definitely gonna happen. But yeah, I just do feel uncomfortable and like the design of the what do they call them?
Equisapiens.
Equisapient. Oh my god, what a great hilarious name, by the way.
Yeah, right, for sure.
Like they're perfectly named. But like I, aesthetically they make me uncomfortable. And like their design is kind of grotesque, and yeah, I don't know, it was a very odd left turn, but you're right, from there on out the style of directing and transitions, it's not a super funny movie from that point on, even though it's kind of an absurd thing that's going on, and somewhat the ending is somewhat comical where he's in. I do love the shot where he's looking through the truck and he just sees the truck
Yeah,
stop
sure.
and it's the horse people pushing it back. That scene is good. But yeah, I do like the style of directing that you're talking about before, where like the transitions happen, you don't even realize it. It makes the beginning of the movie go by really quick. Where like they're able to pack a lot of exposition pretty tightly down because they obviously have a long story to go. Because I did pause this about 45 minutes in. I was like, oh, hey, we got to be like getting somewhere, right? And I still had over an hour left to go, and I was
Well,
like,
just
oh,
like
geez. Like,
the inclusion of like old school, like honest to God jokes as well too. Just like I was reminded of it watching today when like the bit of the extra long password to like go
Yeah.
up to the secondary levels,
Yeah.
where it's just like the film is just taking its time to do this joke where it's just the only payoff is it's an absurdly long password, which is a joke
Right.
like again we've seen before, but like just the fact that it's committing to this bit is kind of like refreshing in some ways, where like it not furthering the plot or not being some just kind of like quirky retort or anything is just like kind of refreshing. And then it's just like, hey, what if there was just a stupidly long password to get up to the elevator as well too?
The one that does it for me is the STD joke from Steven Yeun's character Squeeze.
Yeah,
where he's
yeah.
just- and it works so well. I laughed because it was really funny. But it's just like we're not getting a lot of comedies these days that have STD jokes, you know. And like this was only released 6 years ago at this point. Holy
Right.
crap! But like
The last four
even
don't
then,
count.
like,
We've talked about it.
right, blip. But yeah, I mean, from even before this movie and since this movie, those still aren't jokes that we are used to getting. And so I agree with you. I definitely appreciated that we're just doing some bits here, and like we're just gonna let them play out because that's where
'Cause
the
they're
comedy
funny.
is in this movie.
Yeah.
And they work. They really work. The guy that has the mutton chops for some reason, like I don't even know what kind of beard style you call it, where he cuts it off at the chin, but like I don't know.
Well, and speaking of like again where like the cleverness of this movie in terms of like setting you up for how far it goes and where it goes, like
Mhm.
the ultimate kind of I think like in some ways climax of this movie is the rap song that Cash
Oh
has
my
to
God,
do at
yeah.
the party, where
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
just
right.
like it's the ultimate oh my God, this is happening, I am watching this happen right now, and like
You want to look away, but you can't.
right, and like it is simultaneously horrifying and simultaneously the funniest thing
Yeah,
you've ever
hilarious.
seen, right?
Mhm.
Like you don't want to laugh, but like he kind of got a laugh because it goes on for a while too. It's not like a one-off
Yeah.
line.
For
Yeah,
sure. Nightmare scenario.
dude. And the lead up to it being so uncomfortable, where all these white people are chanting for the black guy to
Peer
rap.
pressure.
Like,
Yeah, right.
yeah, like,
Yeah, so like
Yeah,
I guess
Leah was literally like, I hope our neighbors can't hear this. She's like,
I
they're
mean,
gonna
I
think
don't
we're
blame 'em.
horrible people. And I'm like, they know I like movies.
but then again, like
That's funny.
you will just catch yourself just that would be the thing you're humming to yourself afterwards after the movie's over, right? Just because it's repetitive and gets in your head. Like yeah, I think this movie does a really interesting job of threading that needle and then going absolutely farther than you ever think it's going to end up going overall. Like once Cash is up on the power caller level, it's just truly like, where is this thing going? And we're all just strapped in for the ride. And I think that's to its detriment in some ways. Like some of the other characters who are interesting, like the Tessa Thompson character, like the Stephen Yeun character,
Yeah,
kind of like
I wish she got more screen time for
yeah,
sure.
they kind of take a little bit more of
Yeah.
a backseat overall.
Mm.
right.
Because you have to kind of make way for Mr. Blank and later on Armie Hammer's character and everything. But it is just like a truly what the heck is happening at any given moment. And just like it feels very thought out and like of its time, but like it's still recent enough. We're still getting back to it, within enough time to like recognize what it was saying at the time too. Like it doesn't feel outdated at this point yet.
Yeah, I think the film it has a ton to say on like social commentary as well as like racial commentary in the place, right? So and that's obviously the
Say in the
elephant
workplace,
in the
you cut out a
room.
little bit.
Yeah, in the workplace, yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Where you can see, and it's the funniest part of it as well is how they all have like white voices voiced by white actors.
Yeah.
Which is comical for sure. That's great editing for them to all have those. But it's you see, and he's like kind of the opening scene when he's trying to tell them like how he has to like sell on the phone. But he's like, no, man, you got to use your white voice. And then it cuts to I can't think of his name, but I can see his face right now. And he's Danny Glover's white voice, and it's just kind of hits the nail on the head, right? Of how you can sometimes feel as a minority in the workforce, right? Where obviously this is to an extreme in the movie, but it's sometimes like, yeah, man, it is a little uncomfortable sometimes. And I think a lot of people would feel that way if they're frequently in places without people who look like them or seem like them. You know what I mean? So it does a pretty good job of kind of hitting that on the head, as well as the social commentary of just how work is just fuck. You can just get burnt out from work, man, when you're just like waking up doing the same shit every day, day in and day out. And it's goes to show why people have to have like hobbies, why you have friendships, why you have partners, lovers, things to kind of get you out of the groove. Where if you're just going through the motions, pilot, that's fucking tough, bro.
Yeah, and I think that's it's all, like I'm trying to think of a smarter way of saying tied together, but tied together in that way, like where you do have like Tessa Thompson's character, who is just a actually well-adjusted individual on like the side, and like seeing her talk to him and being like, well, no, you don't have to do any of these things that you're saying that you want to do just because you want the status or whatever comes with it. And kind of like seeing how that plays out with the Stephen Yeun character as well too, and kind of just seeing Cash really give up everything almost immediately as soon as he decides that he can go to a power caller. And again, in some ways, I feel like echoing what Tyler said earlier, where like it's more now that I watch it, that I identify more with the characters and kind of like what all that means. But yeah, getting like money and not having to worry about where your next paycheck is coming from is a huge incentive for anything, right? And just
100%.
like not having that stress or not having that burden on your shoulders at any given time, you would sell out for much less than what Cash
are you
does,
willing to give her up?
right? in this movie overall. So yeah, it's a good one. Recognize.
I do
Go ahead.
like its workplace commentary, as we've kind of touched on already, and that is it's something I've, as a recent college graduate and newborn adult, have come to grapple with, as I work full time weeks. Yeah, definitely, definitely get where he was coming from. I mean, the movie starts out with it's interesting. The movie starts out where it does, where it's he's already in a rut, but he doesn't really do anything to get himself out of that rut until the very end. Like we watch him go up to the power callers, and like he doesn't necessarily get himself out of the rut. He just kind of buys himself being okay with being in that rut almost. You know, he's still I'm not doing anything meaningful, but like, hey, at least I'm having the financial freedom to like justify
he's selling himself on it.
Yeah, he realizes all he has to do is sell his soul. And
Right.
if he's willing to do that, then he doesn't actually have to work at anything. And if you're okay just selling who you are and everything you stand for it, then yeah, absolutely, someone will take you up on it.
Right. Interesting spot to start out at. I do want to give shout outs to all the actors in the whole cast. I think Lakeith Stanfield is a standout. Tessa Thompson is up there for my favorite performance of hers. Honestly, like I really like her character and how she plays it.
I don't know if Lakeith's ever been better. Like I think this might be still his standout performance for me overall. Not having seen all of Atlanta, but like this is the one where
I was gonna say.
I think I see the most range from him in this one, though, and this is like his most starring role.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you all are fans of Lakeith in this one and just the surrealism, this is like, so you were comparing this to kind of like the earlier comedies, like the Austin Powers, Undercover Brothers, kind of those things, and obviously different director than the Atlanta TV series, but this is like almost an episode out of Atlanta.
Well, I did see.
Go ahead.
While I was researching this was originally supposed to have Donald Glover, and he recommended Lakeith Stanfield because they co-starred on
I can
Atlanta
see that for sure.
together.
Yeah, because this is 2018, so I want to say Atlanta probably did the first 2 seasons by then.
Right.
That probably sounds about right. So yeah, it's but yeah, definitely a snip out of that, right, where I could see Donald Glover doing that. I could see Lakeith doing that. I could see Tessa Thompson's role being filled with Zessie Beats. Right? This is a very much out of an Atlanta episode for sure. They would just put it into a 40-minute, you know what I mean, a 40-minute snip. So, yeah.
Yeah, acting is great here across the board.
How do you feel about?
Do you think
sorry to interrupt. I was gonna say, how do you feel about Boots Riley and his direction overall? I know we talked about it a little bit pre-spoilers and everything too, but like, I would be very interested to see what this guy does next. Like, genuinely.
Yeah, man. And to my understanding, I think this is his only feature-length film.
It is.
Right?
The only other thing he's worked on is a TV show.
And honestly, I'd be okay if this was it.
Right. That's where I'm kind of at.
For sure.
Not from like I don't need to see anything else from you, because it would be interesting to see what else he has in his back pocket. But I think kind of like as I have gotten older, I have appreciated when people just know when to stop. Whether it's with the TV series, not having a sequel. I did my thing. I said what I needed to say. I don't give a fuck what you think about it. I'm good.
Like if he does another movie in 7 years, then like like I'll be first in line with a ticket.
Yeah, I'll watch something else for sure if he does it. But you put a lot into this. And,
I mean, that being said, it's been 6 years at this point. Like I would be very interested to see what he has to say at this point as well too.
Yeah.
Like almost if he was like, "Hey, I'm going to do an animated movie." What? I'd be intrigued.
It doesn't seem out of the realm for him though.
Right.
To your point, Nathaniel.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I find his
He's
I
definitely
find his
tapped in.
voice refreshing. I think his tone is sharp. I think his writing is sharp as well too. I think I mean I really like the soundtrack, which is from what I understand is like all him and his band as well too. So
Okay.
like
Yeah, I didn't know that.
yeah, I'd be very interested to see what he does next overall. It kind of reminds me of another artist. I think Flying Lotus. He had a movie that came out a few years ago that was like so
That sounds familiar.
insane no one could watch it kind of thing, and I've always wanted to see what that is.
Okay. Yeah. As far as Tyler's point on kind of being the one and done aspect, I mean, I think I'm starting to get with you too. As you get older, you just start to appreciate stuff like that. It's like the cliche thing is, what is it? Is it Spider-Man, right? Or is it Batman? Is like become a
Yeah.
sometimes, man, is put
Yeah,
out the masterpiece and call it a fucking day, man. And you'll live
you cut
live
out there, but
forever.
I'm assuming you said you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become a villain.
Correct. Yeah. Yep. Die a hero, or you live to become a villain. So sometimes, to your point, Ty, where it's beneficial, just put together the one masterpiece, man, and just fucking ride off into the sunset, man. And you'll live forever, right? Through people who care for film.
100%.
You'll live forever.
Or the message.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, man. I really like this movie. I like the direction it went. I like the fact that it's weird as fuck in some aspects, but like, the weirdism is relatable, which is part of, the message. The equestrian, what are they? Equestrian sapiens, whatever they are.
Yeah, that's a great term, by the way, too. I think.
Yeah, like it's. I looked at it as before they said like whatever the name is, they're just creating workhorses, and
right,
you
for sure.
see all these quotes from like the Warren Buffetts of the world, and they're saying like your like school was created to make you become an obedient work person, not to make you think. And this movie is kind of playing into that. Like you don't always have to try and climb the corporate ladder. You don't have to sell out your soul for a paycheck. Like you are allowed to think and kind of do your own thing and figure things out like that for yourself. And so I really appreciated that message for sure. And then like I said, being on the Best Buy side for so long, you do get to see how underpaid I was, how underpaid all my employees were, how undervalued you are, and then at the end of the day, I was also part of the problem at some point. Like I'm asking people to work harder for less money, and then sometimes like by the time you get to the end of that career, you're like, fuck, dude, I was doing the same fucking thing. Somebody was asking me to work fucking harder so they could fucking sit up top and not have to work as hard as me. But I also think that's also like every job.
Yeah, I mean,
that is just about every job.
It's great when you can come across a work environment, right, where whether that's through like compensation or personal relationships, whatever it may be, like that's the part that most people strive for, and that's what makes jobs tolerable, for lack of a better term. But that's why people stay places for 10 years, 15 years. You build relationships, you build friendships and partnerships and business relationships, right? Opposed to just feel like you're being like stepped on, for lack of a better term, right?
I mean,
for 8 hours a day.
To that point, I think this movie's like kind of commentary on that is the Stephen Yeun character who's like, yeah, I organized the like sign twirlers union, and then I moved on and like worked with these guys and everything and tried to get everyone to organize there as well too. But it's like it's also balanced with that, like, fuck, bro, I gotta eat. I gotta get paid as well too. Like, like even the moves that Cassius makes, like his uncle was gonna lose his house. He's totally justified in taking that extra paycheck, right?
For sure.
Like, and like going out there, but he's gotta live with the fact of what he's selling is not good for people long term. So I think again, it's a very self-aware, balanced movie in some ways on there, and just kind of like in determining like we understand what you're giving up and like what it represents, but also just kind of like what it takes, what the cost is ultimately altogether. And I think that's represented with like Tessa Thompson's character, with his other buddy Sal, with kind of like everything that he ends up going through at the end, and why ultimately he gets turned into a horseman, which we do want you to remember comes with a horse cock as well.
True.
Yeah,
Sure it does.
right.
Would you guys take that deal?
I'm
100
going to
million?
pay you 100 million smiley face.
So that was actually one of my favorite parts too. Is he just handed him a piece of paper and it's just like written in fucking crayon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, like
It's almost, and it's funny too because it's like it's almost like the offer is a joke.
And I
Oh,
think
of course. Yeah.
this movie's not kind to the
No.
upper class, and like it has no sympathy for them whatsoever.
No. Terry Crews with hair is funny as fuck.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
to
he is.
that point, I mean, 100 million, like that's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money.
I think about it.
5
But
years.
what are you going to do with that if you're ultimately a horse? Or
Nah, he's got
what are they called again?
Yeah,
serum,
don't forget a super ultra
solution
serum thing that
Oh,
they never
yeah.
confirm is real in any way.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, fellas. I think
Nope.
I think you can get some people to do it though, for sure.
For 100 million, of
yeah.
course.
Absolutely. There's
Of
people
course
doing
you
it
will.
now.
Yeah, for sure.
What? Pause. Do you know something we don't, Ty?
Shh, don't worry about it, Adam.
What does Best Buy have cooking? Jesus, I gotta get out of there.
Don't put anything in your nose, bud.
All right.
Yeah.
It's
Another
it.
one of the kind of favorite scenes I like in that is the scene where Cassius and what's the other gentleman's name? Is it Salvador? Where they kind of have that like quote unquote argument or
Yeah,
where they're
disagreement
that's
complimenting each
great.
other the whole time.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like a minute and a half rant of just compliments that just get increasingly stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You smell good.
that's the one that always reminds me of this movie every time. It's like when I think of Sorry to Bother You, I think of that scene.
Well, like again,
that's good.
that feels more one of those like old school comedies where like it almost builds to a head, like like the music does, and then it keeps going to after that,
Yeah.
like where it is again. It's just like this is a joke that is in there for the sake of it being a joke, and like let it be a joke kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So we got a lot of good stuff here.
that's an excellent bit.
Yeah, one of my other favorite parts too is when you first see Danny Glover and he's telling him you got to use your white voice.
For sure. Yeah.
I will say that the white voice connected with me because when you're in sales, regardless of your race, you find what's called your customer service voice.
100%.
And you can turn it on and off depending on who you're talking to, what you're selling, whether you're on the phone or in person, and it really only like crossed with me so well because literally the other day, or not the other day, I guess a couple weeks ago, when I had the CEO's stepson riding with me, I had to call an account, and he was in the van with me while I was calling. And I hung up and I was like, sorry. He's like, wow. I was like, you had to hear my customer service voice. He's like, oh, it's all good. Everybody's got one. And so it's just funny that, you know, you can kind of find that level that you want to be on. And, you know, I definitely think that's part of being a good salesperson.
Of course.
Yeah, you find it.
Yeah, for sure. That takes me back. That's a very valid point, right? Regardless of race and ethnicity, everybody has kind of that work tone they get to. But then like kind of like backtracking me like 5-6 years, or even a little longer, finishing. It's like going in Adam's shoes, like seeing that of your friends for the first time. Like once I started to like do things with like my friends, and we'd go on vacation, like people would still have to like work and do shit like that. And then seeing your friend, it's like, man, I've seen you do some crazy shit off the walls. And then it's like, I'm hearing you talk for work. You know what I mean? It's like, is one of the funniest
or even
things
like
as a young adult.
going back even further, like seeing how your friends interact with their parents, like when you've like only met them at school or something like that, and then you like go home.
Yeah.
You get that first kind
Yeah.
of like, oh yeah, we all do lead different lives depending on who we're around.
Yeah,
right.
For sure.
But yeah,
Yeah, man, good film. I think I want to put it on the list.
Yeah, we can.
Or any closing thoughts, comments?
well, I was
concerns?
gonna ask, like, Blake, where does
Oh.
this rank on your list for like recent black films, or that
Ooh,
kind of thing
man.
overall?
So yeah, I had an interesting viewing experience because I saw this in the movie theaters, probably release weekend. So before you can even come around to like what the film was really about. So I went into this thinking it was like a slapstick comedy, to be completely honest with you, and got blindsided. I went with two of my buddies. So yeah, this has got to be September 2018.
Okay.
That sounds right. And pleasantly surprised, but honestly, I've never rewatched it until then, until this viewing right here. So, it is one I probably should get around to after watching it a second time. I enjoyed it a lot. You pick up on a few more of the jokes and kind of themes. You see the hinting of the equestrian or what are the
Equisapiens,
whatever the fuck they're called, equisapiens. Thank you. You kind of see some. You see some verbiage and scenes that lead to that early on in the film. You're right. You're able to kind of connect some of those dots that I didn't see earlier. As far as where it's ranking films, I mean, oh man, I'd have to. I feel like they don't make quote unquote a ton of black films, right? At least not like they don't make the they don't make the Boys in the Hood. They don't make those types of movies anymore.
Right.
So it's hard to really gauge.
Maybe to transition us here to our Entropy list,
Sure.
like the most recent one I could think of would be like The Blackening, that we've got here on the list.
Yeah.
Or
I feel like that's a little different of a film though,
Sure. A Judas and the Black Messiah as well too, or something. That would be something else I would think.
Yeah.
But where
Blind Spotting.
Yeah.
Blind Spotting,
Of-
sure. Well,
Yeah,
actually,
of
I was
recent
reading.
times.
I was
ahead.
reading Blind Spotting, and this actually shared some sets in Oakland in 2017, 2018 as well too. Like
Yeah.
same.
Well, they came out, I think, both in 2018, right?
Yeah. So I think they filmed very concurrently, more or less.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Blind Spotting also 2018.
So, anyways, Blake, where you got this ranking here overall?
Yeah, I would say in terms of modern black films, it's got to be off the top of my head. I think the top of that chain is still Judas and the Black Messiah, right? Of
Sure.
modern, I would probably slide this below that because there's not a large selection of quality ones. I would say.
Fair.
Going to the Entropy list. Pull this guy. I think I'm leaning towards because what's Judas? That's like 30s, right? Or has that dropped down to 40s?
That is
Pulling it up right
36
now.
still. So,
Okay, thought so.
and then I think, if you want to go with like black leads or anything, we have Training Day at 43.
Training Day at 43.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you kind of probably drop down to Boys in the Hood maybe at 57.
Yeah.
And then Paid in Full's got to be around there as well
yeah.
too, right? Paid in Full.
Paid in Full 79.
Oh wow, there's gotten quite a
Okay.
bit of a difference between there too.
Yeah.
Then Blade at 82.
Yeah. And shout out Foley. He just sent me within the past week. There was some Blade stuff that must have came up on his Explore page.
Wow,
And
okay.
he sent to me. It was about their opening scene. So shout out him. Shout out Blade's
All right, well,
great opening scene.
how about last
Um,
week? Last week we had American Gangster, which got entered there at 94. Are you above or below?
I am above American Gangster
Okay.
for sure. And for clarification, I'd probably put that in a previous generation if we're talking films because that's what pre-2010.
Yeah, it's 2007.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I would go above that. I think when I'm looking at the Paid in Full, it's getting debatable, right?
Okay.
That's one that's like one of my personal favorites. I don't think I can get all the way up to Judas and above Training Day. So I think I'm ballparking somewhere. Terminator, Good Will Hunting, Bullet Train. I feel like this is always like I've now found my safe bet ranking every time, right,
Sure.
fellas? And it's ultimately above the 3 fucking superhero films we have back to back in Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness,
Sure.
and the Suicide Squad. And I just cannot put this film below Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. That film needs to be significantly lower. So because of that, I've always found my spot. So I think I'm actually going to go ahead and go 50.
Say it again.
59?
I'm sorry. Yeah, say it one more time.
Yep, I'm going to go 59.
59.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. You know what? Fuck it. I think I'm going to go there too, just to echo
It's
Blake's
not a bad
point here.
spot.
Yeah,
It's really not.
I really think he's got a
it's
he's got an
pretty
option
fair.
there. Like, I'm trying to kind of also play the game a little bit too, where I'm like, someone else is going to like offset us here. Because
Of
really,
course.
what
Right,
I'd love to
right.
have
Stop
happen.
playing the game. It's not a game. It's a rank game.
I'm trying to play the ranking then, because realistically, what I'd love to do is break up that kind of like superhero kind of area we got
Right,
going on there.
right.
And like, I think if I could, like, Boys in the Hood in this one, I think for me are going to be pretty similar. Like, if it
Okay.
ended up being around there, like, I'd be okay with it. And then if it dropped down, like, I mean, it's going to be above A Knight's Tale, which is like number 1 for me. So, you know, either way, that's still like,
Yeah,
I'm giving something
Tough
up
feat.
there overall. Yeah.
for sure.
And like Kill Bill Volume
are.
2, Deadpool, Pig, like those are all great movies. So yeah, I'm gonna stick with you, Blake. I'm gonna put it there at 59.
Adam or Ty?
I'm not quite as high. But I'm not too far away. There's some movies that are tripping me up are Top Gun Maverick. I think we often forget how
yeah,
awesome that
yeah.
movie is. Bullet Train. I will never forget my first watch of that movie and how jacked I was off of that. Coherence is another solid sleeper. Tokyo Drift,
Coherence.
Red Line. Like, I just listed off a bunch of movies that I would not die for, but have pretty close to the top of my list of like
Yeah.
just movies we have on this list. Like, I
Would
think
you give
they're
him
all-
up for $100 million?
Whoa.
I could never watch any of those again.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, there's enough movies out there.
I
Yeah,
need
I'd do
to-
that easily.
I need to
sorry.
sing-
Sure.
Those are not movies I care about enough. I don't know if there is a movie I care about enough. I mean,
La La Land.
I see.
yeah, no, sell it. I don't care.
I need to sing the
Wow.
praises of Coherence. I need to let the world know that this movie
Yeah,
is out
Coherence
there.
is so good.
Coherence is dope.
so good.
It's probably streaming on a service near you, folks. And
Right, Tubi.
it doesn't cost you anything.
I would imagine it's on Tubi for sure.
That movie.
With all that being said, it is on Tubi. That's where we watched it. At least I think that's where I watched it.
or Hulu. It's like it flops between the two of them.
Maybe.
Anyways,
I'm gonna put it right below a movie that I also watched on Tubi and hopefully is still there. Red Line, down at 73. It's
Line.
right below Red Line and above Good Will Hunting.
Fair.
They're just
That's
the
fair.
movies that I just like have like more initial enjoyment out of, both watching them in theaters or just watching them after the fact. And I think this movie is very well made, and I did get a lot out of it. But those movies are just ones where like I have memorable experiences in terms of like a first watch, and this didn't quite get to that level for me, but it's still pretty good. And I feel good about putting it a step above Good Will Hunting. I think this could fill kind of a gap in between Red Line to Good Will Hunting. That's kind of there. So 73 for me. Ty, I believe that leaves you.
Tough.
is it though?
It really is, because realistically, like my first hard cap was Red Line.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Valid. Because that was your birthday pick, right? If I'm not
it
mistaken.
was,
Okay, yeah.
and I think it's a killer movie.
It's a good movie.
And then you also get to A Knight's
You don't
Tale,
know a damn thing about it racing.
Which is my birthday pick.
which has also got a lot of nostalgia for me. Boys in the Hood also has a lot of nostalgia for me. But I think this is better than like Requiem, E2 Mama. I think this
Now
has
we're talking.
I think this has a lot of potential, but I think there's like some really like hard bangers that I'm just like really gonna have a hard time putting about, like Spirited Away.
Yeah.
Right.
Just, like I really think this does deserve to be like a 39. But because the way the list has been built out, it's gonna get buried a little bit. Not like buried, but a little bit buried.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I am actually gonna go a little bit higher. And I'm going to be at 58, just below Boys in the Hood.
Okay.
And it's only because Boys in the Hood it's been around in my life so much longer than this movie
Yeah.
has. But
So quotable too.
100%. But this movie definitely like it hit a lot of the right strings to be a first viewing for me.
Okay. So we got a
Not a
259s. And what's Adam? 70? What did you say?
I was at 70. I was at 73.
73.
Which like sounds so low,
Oh, it's not.
but
I mean, it's above Terminator.
There's
if you, like, put context in it.
there's a lot of movies on this list.
Right.
there is. There's only more movies every week. But anyway, our average ranking then rounds out to 62.25, meaning we would be tie-breaking it with the original Deadpool.
Damn. No.
I will put it over
right.
Deadpool
I'm with you.
personally.
I'm with you, Nathaniel.
Yeah, let's put it above Deadpool.
Yes, yeah, let's do that.
You cool with that, Ty?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. Sorry to bother you. Locked in there at 60.
Sorry to
62
bother
below
you.
Suicide Squad and above Deadpool. Good spot, I think. Maybe someone can knock it up in an entropy list amendment.
What's the highest ranking new film we have on here? Is it still Spider-Man?
New
Top of my head?
film?
Let me scroll.
Yeah, that's got to be it.
No,
right?
Across
That
the
was- I
Spider-Verse.
don't think anything
Across the Spider-Verse.
across the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say. Across the
Yeah, that is definitely the highest ranking new movie we have.
Yeah. After that, you're at Oppenheimer at
And then-
17.
Yeah, then probably 9 days.
And Killers at 18.
Yeah.
9 days is
And then,
yeah.
and then it'd be 9 days at 22.
Killers of the Flower Moon's at 18.
Yeah, that's what.
Okay.
Blake
Or
said.
nine
Oh,
days.
sorry, I didn't hear you.
Letterboxd is listed as 20, even though I think on IMDb it's 21. I think it's one of those wide release versus original release discrepancies.
Yeah.
But it's 2021. Either way, that's pretty recent.
I was gonna say
you
Get
got-
Out. Get Out would be the other one in 2017. Like, I know that feels like a long time
Yeah.
ago, but wasn't that
Oh,
long
what's
ago?
what's awesome too is that we have Halloween from 1978 in the top 5, and we have The Shining from 1980 as number 1. Like, pretty diverse
Yeah,
list. here.
Hereditary's 2018 as well too. So
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
same
Gotta
year as
spread
this
back
movie.
there. Yeah, and then Alien is 79 at 11. Like, this list is fun. It's fun to do this. I love it.
It is. It's always interesting to look back and then like.
Yeah,
at
I
the
know
end
when
of
you
the
look
year,
at.
or actually at the end of
we're
the
so
year, once
used
we
to
get to
ranking.
once we get to the summer,
Yeah.
we'll throw in what everybody wants to change their opinions on up
Yeah,
and
we'll do
down
that.
movers.
We'll do our top 5s from
Yeah.
year 4.
Let's see, we are gonna have to get Spider-Man No Way Home down though.
Agreed.
That's in that 37.
Taking a vote.
I know Adam is a strong advocate of that one, but we may have to pull some strings on this.
Taking a vote.
You
Anyways,
come for me, I'll come for you.
No
Let that be a
comment.
warning.
yeah, right.
No, we can talk about that in July when we get there.
We're,
We're all good, man. I got my the Descent up because that was fucking.
You
buried
did,
for a
you
long
did.
time.
You did.
we're about an hour in. Do you want to do a little bit of what we're watching?
I mean, I'm gonna do one thing each, and then get out of
Yeah,
here. Yeah,
with that.
we've got we're at an hour and 15 roughly on the actual episode time. Oh, before we get to any of that though, Our next review. Let's do that first.
Sure.
Next review is Bob Marley, One Love, new movie
Oh, is that
coming
what
to
we're
you
seeing?
in theaters. I'm very excited personally. It looks good from all the trailers I'm seeing. Not a story I'm very familiar with, honestly, at all. So like, it's gonna be kind of interesting to see that unravel and see how that plays out and learn a little bit more about Bob Marley, which I like his music. So yeah, check that out in theaters and join us for our review of that next week. Continuing, that'll be 3 weeks in a row. This Black History Month theme that we've got going on, I'm loving it. I don't know what follows. Oh yeah, we have something open after that if we want to keep that rolling.
We'll figure it
Before
out.
Dune Part 2 comes out. Cool. What we're watching, Nathaniel, you watched something.
Yeah, we're just keeping it to one.
We'll keep it. You have 90 seconds.
Okay, well, our boy Carl Weathers died. So
R.I.P.
Rest in peace.
yeah, that's right. I went back and I watched Happy Gilmore in his honor as Chubbs, a classic film in a classic role in my opinion. So
Sure.
yeah, that was pretty great. I also saw Argyle. If anyone was curious, it's not good.
I saw
It's
that
bad.
as well.
It's a bad movie. And
It's not very fun.
and then I watched Warm Bodies for the first time, which is maybe one that
Ooh,
a lot of folks have seen.
that, man.
Yeah, I've never seen it before. Definitely one that I knew about at the time and just didn't see with the right person, but watched that one and it was pretty fun. It's a good movie.
How was it?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's nice. It's a good time. Say if you got a lady in your life and you're looking for a fun little movie to watch at some point, check out Warm Bodies in 2013. It's nice. Especially
Okay.
if she's got
Yeah,
if she likes a little horror movie action every now and then, if she likes some zombies.
right.
Right.
Yeah, it didn't seem too heavy. That's why it's always one.
It's
Like, oh, I should
very-
put this on real
Very much like they do a really good job of being like, we're eating brains, but like not showing any of it or anything like that. Like,
Yeah, right.
It's pretty well done. Pretty well done overall on that. So
Okay.
that's what I've been watching. Other than that, keeping up with True Detective season 4. Enjoying that overall. So
I might just wait to binge that one. I've also got like.
I mean, so this was episode 5 this last week, and it's a 6-episode season. So
so I
the
can start
time to
now.
binge is now. Yeah. Now this is we just got Super Bowl Sunday, so they released the episode last Friday rather than Sunday. But you're good to go
Right.
now.
Makes
So
sense.
the season finale will be this upcoming Sunday as this episode's released. So
Okay.
yeah. Would recommend. Have enjoyed.
Okay.
Good to hear.
But that's what I've been watching. Tyler, what about you?
Clarkson's Farm. Jeremy Clarkson from Top Gear.
Or
more recently, The Grand Tour.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a show on Amazon. It's called Clarkson's Farm. He literally just farms, but it's like Top Gear kind of style.
He farms really fast. Is that what you're saying?
He's got power.
He does have power. He literally buys a Lamborghini tractor, which is a real thing.
Well, didn't they start making tractors?
How
That
much
is
does
true.
that cost?
Honestly, I don't know,
Yeah.
but it's got to be.
I think-
It's got to be a lot.
Jeremy
Yeah,
Clarkson
that's
has
gotta be
no
north of,
shortage of
probably
money.
500 grand, 600 grand.
Not that much.
I bet it's probably somewhere right around like 250, 300. A regular tractor can probably put you somewhere in like the 100 grand mark.
Does it say 150
Okay.
maybe?
Yeah. So yeah, it's actually really funny. It's also very like heartfelt. There's a lot of good moments in there. There are some moments that are filmed during COVID, so you do get to kind of see that whole process as well. But yeah, if you're looking for just kind of like some nonsense.
Yeah.
Sorry. Some
Nonsense and some fun.
yeah. It's really good.
Hey, if like genuinely, if anyone out there is looking for the ultimate like white dad show, Top Gear or the Grand Tour or anything with Jeremy Clarkson, Richard Hammond, and James May is the solution. Just
It's funny
find that.
stuff.
Just find that for them, and they will be good for probably 6 to 8 months.
If not longer.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of material.
There's a lot of stuff they got to go. Yeah. You have multiple streaming services to give them at that point.
Facts. So yeah, we did that. Obviously, we did the Super Bowl. We also did get some great
Thanks for hosting. Good time.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was a superb owl.
Got to see Ryan Foley. What's up,
Yep.
Ryan?
He was
Good to see
here. Yeah, if Blake was here, I was just gonna say we should have just recorded last night. We could have just watched the movie with everyone, and then we could have just done a live
facts.
recording.
Would have been dope.
We'll have to do that one of these days.
All our biggest fans were here, so minus Waz, but
And Papa
We
Schwartz.
could have made it
you
happen.
didn't want to come.
Shouts out.
Yeah, Waz basically said.
And
"Fuck yourself."
Yasik, relax, Yasik. I know you get butthurt when I don't mention you as a fan. Hello.
And then the only other thing that's like super mentionable that Leah and I watched was Griselda.
The new
Griselda Blanco.
the new
On Netflix.
And every time that's the Netflix with like the cartel, right?
Yes.
Okay. Every time somebody mentions that show, I just think of like the West Side Gun label, Griselda, and that's just like forever ingrained. in my head.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I heard the show's good though. All jokes
It is
aside.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I think
for
it's
sure.
like 6 or 8 episodes. They're all just about under an hour or about an hour.
Is it in English or is it subtitled?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
'cause
like,
there are times where they are speaking Spanish. Yep. Exactly.
Is Narcos? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Haven't watched Narcos. Only seen a few episodes, just like on backgrounds, right? It's just
Narcos is
kinda-
good as fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's Narcos, Narcos Mexico, and then Griselda.
Okay.
And they're all good.
Cool.
So yeah, other than that, there's been some Formula One cars that have been released.
The Sabre one looks cool. Sauber.
It's funny because they are all carbon fiber with a hint of color.
Yep.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
yeah, they all look pretty close to one another. But yeah, Formula One's on its way back. We do get Drive to Survive at the end of the month. But yeah, other than that, nothing crazy. Blake, what have you been watching?
I don't. Did we discuss that I finished The Last of Us? Did we discuss that last week? When
I don't
was in
think
the
so. We skipped
hotel
what we're
and had the
watching last week.
Okay, so yeah, I finished The Last of Us. On
What
that,
are your thoughts, man?
I liked it. I'm
Yeah?
invested. I'll watch the second season, which I would
Alright.
say is a strong
play the
statement
game?
coming from me.
You have a
I've
PS5.
played the first game, have not played the second game.
Are you thinking
so-
about playing the second one?
I probably should, man, but I need
You
to
should.
beat God of War Ragnarok.
Yeah,
before I
no, you-
commit to- before I commit to any other video game.
True,
like,
and you
to
have
be honest with you.
Spider-Man that I don't know if you
Yeah.
bought, but you definitely I've mentioned you want to play.
Yeah, so I got a catalog to work through.
Yeah,
But that is it is on there, but I will get to the second season when it comes out. Which do we have a date on that? Chance out of
2025.
That-
Yeah, I think you
they
got
started
time.
filming. Yeah, you got some
So
time.
it's-
they
it's a
they
while.
just started
Okay.
filming or are about to start filming this year, and then it should be next year.
Okay. So yeah, overall, like I said, I liked it. Some good character development, kind of similar to the few nuances. But yeah, I'm in. Long story short, I'm in.
You're in.
I've started Mr. and Mrs. Smith on Amazon.
That's good.
Yeah, it's not. I like it, and that's with Donald Glover, and I forgot the other.
My man.
Maya
Something
Erskine.
Erskine? Yes, thank you. So yeah, I started that. I think I'm on episode 4.
Who is the voice
Right
in
now.
Blue Eyed Samurai, which was my favorite show of 2023.
It's a lot of people's
Okay.
favorite show, 2023. I gotta get to that.
Valid. Yeah, I'm not familiar with any of Maya's work. But yeah, it's overall it's pretty good. They've got some good chemistry. It is a little redundant episode wise. It's kind of like each episode is like, hey, here it just goes and then it ends, you know. But between that, you get to see the character Erskine
You're
and
cutting
kind
out.
of how
You cut
they're.
out a little bit there, Blake. What'd you say?
Ooh, you got me.
Yeah.
I said it is a little redundant episode wise. It's kind of more so like, hey, here's your mission, then it just restarts each episode. But you do get to see the relationship building between Donald and Maya, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, right? Because they kind of come in effectively, they're strangers and they're in this marriage for the sake of these missions. So it's a fake marriage, and then you can see them slowly kind of start to have feelings for each other and treat it like a real marriage. So it's pretty good, man. It's got some comedic undertones as well. I wouldn't be surprised if that thing gets renewed for a season 2, right, within the next few
Well,
months.
I think that's
Um,
the contrast in the Angelina and Brad version. They didn't know each other were spies, and they were trying to
right,
ultimately search for each other. And in this one, they know they're
correct.
spies, but they're trying to be a normal family, right?
Yeah, for the most part, correct. Yeah. So, yeah, and then so it's good. Cast is good. You see some every episode's got some different one-off characters. Like for example, like Paul Dano's already showed up, which was like totally surprising. Didn't expect that. So there's kind of some cool shit like that going on. Yeah, Nathaniel's giving us the A-OK for the Paul Dano cameo. So yeah, started running through
Yes.
that, and then when I was stuck in the hotel last week, I started going back to True Detective season 1. So I've been on a little TV binge.
Ooh.
More TV.
I don't
binge
know
than
the
I've
last
been-
time you've completed an entire season of television. It's always I started this, and then
Yeah,
I don't
man,
hear from you
I'm
about
rolling
it.
right
You've moved
now,
on to
man.
another one.
Yeah,
Besides Atlanta,
I'm
I think
rolling.
Atlanta's the only one I can know you're gonna finish.
For sure. So
Yeah.
yeah, I've knocked off The Last of Us. I'm about to knock off True Detective season 1.
You're
Which
getting
is awesome.
through some good television,
far.
man. So
Yeah, which is
you're in for
awesome.
some good stuff, dude.
So yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna do all of the True Detective seasons. From my understanding, it seems like one's obviously the magnum opus. I'll probably just go to 4 after this. Is that kind of the right plan?
I think
here,
you could.
Nathaniel Time?
Yeah, I think you could.
Okay. So yeah, I think that's kind of the plan there. But yeah, that's all I've been watching. So we'll see. And then now just football's over. I mean, I'll watch some basketball. Still haven't watched any college basketball. But I do watch a decent amount of NBA, so we'll see.
I've been watching a lot of NBA. Dude,
Yeah.
this season of the NBA has been crazy. We got to talk about it at some point a little bit more in depth. But
Yeah.
crazy in the sense that
Yeah.
like it's very entertaining and it's anybody's game and there's a lot of good teams.
sure.
There's a lot of
For sure.
always a few bad teams, but there's a lot of good teams.
Yeah.
A lot of talent. Yeah, it's been fun to watch NBA this year.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll deep dive
There
that. But
you
yeah, that's all I've been on. So heavy TV show grind, fellas. And that's about it. Who's next here? Looks like we
Well,
lost. We
yeah,
lost one
it's
of the
just
boys.
me.
Is it on you?
Tyler texted in the group chat that his entire building lost power. So
Oh,
So yeah,
it's
we'll
unfortunate.
tough.
let's go ahead and finish this on out, and then we'll
Yeah.
just we'll be one number short.
I also saw Argyle. It's not great. Don't recommend it. Watched finished season 1 of Jujutsu Kaisen, and then have watched the movie in between seasons 1 and 2. So now I just have season 2 to
Ooh.
watch. Which now you haven't watched any season 2, have you, Nathaniel? But
I
you
have
read the
not.
manga, right?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so you still know more than me.
I know
But
so much.
but that show's awesome, and I'm really excited for the second season. I've heard it's 9.5 out of 10, 10 out of 10. Like that's all I've heard is those ratings. So very excited to get to that. What else did I watch? I feel like there was more I was gonna say, and then now I've forgotten. It's unfortunate. Yeah, basketball and other stuff. Playing Helldivers too, which has been fun. It's basically a Starship Troopers game.
That's what I've been hearing.
As
Like
best
I
as
saw a
best as I
bunch
can
of
describe it.
people talking about it like today on the
Yeah.
Twitters.
It's fun, and it legitimately is like just basically not really a ripoff of Starship Troopers, like, but same kind of concept almost in like universe style, where it's like you're the Earth Freedom Defense Force or whatever, and you just drop onto planets and eradicate aliens, and some of them are bugs. So like I don't know, but it's fun. It's I've only played a couple hours of it, but it's been good. And yeah, I don't know, been busy. Been doing a lot of stuff, but it's been fun.
Fair enough.
I think that'll be it. for what we're watching. Let's get on out of here. Let's see what happens next in the show. Yeah, share the podcast. A 5-star review, Nathaniel. We have a
No 5-star reviews, but if you want to give us one, we'll read it out here on the podcast.
cool. While you're at it, share the podcast, share with a friend, family member, maybe a Quest Sapien, a Quester Sapien. If you know one of those. While you're doing that, follow us on Twitter at Banter Row, on Instagram at Back Row Banter Pod, and our YouTube is just Back Row Banter. Please go subscribe to us there, even if it is not your primary place of listening. And then our email is backrowbanterpod@gmail.com. I'll go first this week. Why not? You can find me personally on Twitter at H24 and on Letterboxd at H, where I have stayed up to date on the things I've been watching. So that will continue to stay updated. What I'll be watching shortly is Suzume, which I have finally seen. They are releasing on a Blu-ray disc hard copy, and I have pre-ordered for March 12th. So stay tuned for that. I will probably get that up on as an episode review shortly after I have it in hand, because it's a good movie and we should watch it. Yeah, that's it. Nathaniel, where can people find you at, my man?
You can find me on Twitter and Letterboxd at @NSGingrich. You can find me on Instagram at NathanielG92. Sandpiper Tapes is my other podcast. Blake, where can the people find you at, sir?
Letterboxd BlakeHolder, PSN, and what's the other term I'm looking for? Xbox gamer tag, Mr. Watercoolers. Pardon me. Well, that's all I got.
Yerk.
Oh, was I last? We'll be RB.
America. Ready for another lesson.
All right, so this week's lead-in question: how big does an octopus have to be before you're in trouble?
Okay, what are we talking? Are we talking weight-wise, or are we talking just length from like tentacle to tentacle?
Talking size in general. I'm putting you in 3 feet of water, so you can kind of
So
stand.
I don't
up.
know how much does an octopus weigh. Because
They're like the biggest
they're-
ones are like 25 pounds. They're not that.
I
big.
figured they're very light. Yeah. But then what's the 25-pound to wingspan or tentacle span? You see what I'm saying? Is that does 25 pounds correlate to an 8-foot tentacle span? Then
I
it's
think
like
the
that's a little different
biggest
of a
ones I
combo.
saw had like a 6 foot tentacle span. Maybe.
I'm confident taking a 20-pound octopus with a 6-foot tentacle span.
All right, but what about if it's a
I think
30-pound octopus with a 7-foot wingspan?
Yeah, see, I don't know. I got to pull up a chart for that, right? Do some analysis.
Because the reality is, here's my
I don't know what
thinking.
their suction force is.
Yeah, here's my
or
thinking
grip
is that
force.
like I don't even know like how to fight an octopus at the end of the day. Like at what point is it too big? But I don't even know how it's gonna come at me. Like, is it gonna try and take all my
Oh,
limbs
you gotta
out?
go ahead. You gotta go ahead, right? You gotta aim for the head.
But
for
like,
sure.
yeah, that's my question. Like, are you punching? Are you ripping? Are you tearing? Are you biting? Like, how are we getting into this thing? Right? Like, these are my
Yeah.
questions.
Am I barehanded?
Yeah.
And we're on land?
You're in
No, you're
3 feet of water.
So you can, yeah.
Then I'm screwed.
At,
I just
at any
resign.
size. The question
You
is
think so?
how
You don't
big.
think-
Okay, well, like, yeah, I mean, if they're like,
Yeah.
like small basketball size, or like a
But like,
basketball
all right,
size,
how about
maybe,
like
but
size of a dog?
no, I'm
Okay,
toast.
is that like the head size, Nathaniel?
I'm
Is that what
talking
we're
full. I'm
about,
talking
or-
full body is the size of like a German Shepherd. And maybe
no,
it's
because I could
tentacle.
imagine the tentacle span on that thing's got to be 10 plus feet.
I think I'm
Alright.
cooked. Yeah,
I think I'm cooked with that. I think that's
I'm
too
not
much
feeling
grip
too good
strength.
about that one.
How about the
for
size
sure.
of a cat then?
Yes, I'm taking my odds.
Probably.
All right, so we're narrowing
3
it
feet of
down.
water. I don't know. If it's in water, man, I'm scared no matter what size. To be honest, dude, those things in water.
Is it one of those
quick.
things too where like it's the fact that it's touching you like weirds you out as well? Like you're
Yeah,
like,
a little bit.
It's got the
Well, yeah. As soon
it's
as I
got the
feel like
creepiness
something
technique.
starts sucking on my skin with the tentacles, like I might just tap out. I might just run away.
You might just die. Might
I
just fall
very
right
well
on
might,
the down,
dude. If
crack your
if
head
it's
on a rock.
poisonous, yeah. Told you, I'm cooked.
Tyler, are you there?
Yeah. I don't.
Sorry. You want my input?
I do. I want to know how big this octopus got to be before you're toast.
I don't know. I feel like like that 7 foot kind of 8 foot mark is
So
really
basically, if
pushing
it's
it.
like if it's got like a wider wingspan than you do, is basically kind of
Yes.
where we're getting.
That's
to the
kind of my
line.
mental gauge.
Okay.
Right, for sure. Because I
Yeah.
do think it's ultimately going to be pretty fucking strong. Its grip
Well, yeah,
strength
so, like,
of like
Right.
holding on to you.
I
is-
guess that's the
yeah.
thing is
so
like
that,
if
that
you try to
20
like
pounds, like
rip it or something, you'd be afraid that it could go around your arm and break it all like a Prometheus style or something like that.
Yeah, I don't think they have the strength to do something like that. I think there would be enough strength where it would create difficulties for your movements of trying to get leverage
Sure, and then
shit
it
like that.
just
You know what I
drown
mean?
you.
That's kind of my guess. Where it'd be very
I see
like
where you're
wrestling tusk. You got to move around,
Got
got
it.
to be savvy, you know. And those things got 8 arms, so I think it's
I
don't
think
know.
the important piece that I'm gonna utilize in a fight like this is my teeth.
going. Sure.
I am biting through as much tentacle as I possibly can.
Now. I mean, given the size of the octopus we're now chatting, right? So say it has we're all 6 foot plus, right? So say it
Yeah.
has a 6 foot plus tentacle span.
No,
I don't know this.
no
I don't know
coke.
the size of the beak on that octopus, but I would imagine it's a
Right.
decent sized beak.
I'm gonna say it's like
And that's
it's
gonna
it's
do
gonna be
some-
like a 2 to 3 inch beak, right? At some point
Yeah,
like that point.
and I think that can do some damage to you if that thing gets a bite in you. That's
I
that's
feel
a
like
chunk gone.
There's a part of me like
sure.
on a primal level that if I felt a beak attacking me, like that would trigger like some sort of like deep adrenaline type thing where like I'm going crazy at that, like berserker rage moment at that point, just like I will not die like this.
Getting beaked.
Getting beaked to death. Yeah, I just don't think I could handle that.
All your adrenaline just peaks.
Right, yeah, that's
Getting
what I'm
beaked
saying.
to
Like there's
death.
something like
I'm
that's
getting
just
baked.
oh my god. especially ocean beaked. I think it's one thing if it was a some sort of like we were talking last week, like a harpy eagle or something. But it's the fact that it's an ocean dweller doesn't sit right with me. They shouldn't have beaks, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think the beak is a sneaky. That thing's doing some damage.
Imagine you get
I think
beaked in
it's
the
a
nipple.
winnable fight. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So do you imagine you get beaked right in the nipple? Can you imagine the
Oh,
psychological
I think
damage?
your whole pecs.
Uh,
I think your pec can come off. Yeah. Ultimately, I think we would prevail. I do think there's some substantial damage, right?
Because you gotta
but then I
imagine
think
like
once you get above the 8 foot range, 9 foot, 10 foot range, I think you're cooked, bro.
you gotta imagine like if you could somehow get a foot on him and like get him into the like you could step on him in somewhere, it would feel gross.
Yeah, but he's got 8. Oh yeah. Well, yeah. That's.
It would
I thought you
feel
were saying
gross.
to like render him, injure him. It would feel gross. So like
I'm saying,
stomping on
like-
him, I might even just be weirded out by it, and I'd have to stop.
Yeah, but if I just got beaked in the nipple, I'm saying if I gotta
True,
take this dude out,
The beaking does change it. The beaking does change
like
it.
I think there's a certain amount that like just we being north of or around or above 200 pounds, like that's gotta account for something, right?
Are we basically like writing a crawl octopus movie right now?
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll
I
pose
just
a
wanna make
final.
sure.
I'll pose a final scenario to the group. All 4 of us versus one octopus.
All right.
How big
How
before
big's
we
it?
fail?
Oh, I think it's got to be. We're talking like squid size.
Yeah, like a 10-footer at least, right?
Yeah, I think we're talking squid size. Which I don't know the exact size of squids though. So let me.
Now again, I'm not gonna overrate my mental ability to just handle a 6-foot squid coming at the boys.
Well, I
At any
mean,
given
at that
time?
point,
Well,
it's
I
got
think.
eight. It's
Go
got
ahead.
8 little tentacles, and we got 8. We got 8 arms at that point. If I'm doing the math correct, 4 times 2.
That's
Yeah.
also 2
So,
tentacles.
think-
That's 2
we're
tentacles
kinda
for
even
each
in
of
here.
us, bro.
I think
Yeah.
stage is important, right? So like if we're still in enough water
3
where
feet
we're
of
able
water.
to like stand and not be in jeopardy of drowning. I think if it's in even like with a even in a
if it
even with a
wraps your
small
leg,
octopus,
mm,
I think
I was
if
gonna
you're
say-
if you're in like 8 feet of water with a small octopus, I really don't know how much damage
So,
you can do
but,
to it.
like-
you're only down to biting.
But
A
here's
punch isn't going to do anything.
here's the thing though, at a size that's gonna take on 4 of us, like the beaktitude is gonna be a real problem at that point. Like we are now into like one
yeah, how
one
much,
beak
we're gonna have to do a lot of damage.
one beak death
Yeah.
kind of scenario there, I think, if there's 4 of us.
Yeah, it's gonna take a while to bring that thing down.
I say we,
They got 3 hearts.
That's true, dude. They got 3 cores.
all right, so we
They're
can't
like
treat it like
panda
a
from
vampire.
Jujutsu Kaisen.
We're gonna have to go for eyes.
Yeah, giant squid, we're fucked, fellas. That thing's capping about 60 feet.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh,
no shot.
well,
No
yeah,
chance.
yeah, no chance.
Yeah. Now the largest octopus is capping out about 15 feet from tentacle to tentacle. So I think that's a
For
that's
the
a good
4 of
wingspan.
us?
Wingspan?
For the
Yeah,
4 of
tentacle
us, I
span.
feel
Okay,
like we
I
could do
think that would be more of a fair fight. I'm
For the
still not 100%
squadron?
confident, but
It's
our
one of
wings-
those
our
ones.
wingspan together.
15 feet's pretty fucking big.
It's one of
man.
those
That's
ones where as
scary.
soon as
That is-
tools are
That is
like
scary. Wait, that is scary. That's a very long wingspan.
Yeah, I was like, that's a pretty big
Now
octopus,
that
man.
you
I
think
don't
about
know,
it.
dude.
Yeah, but
that's a
that's-
little.
That is a very big octopus.
that's for 4
Also,
of
octopus
us.
are smart.
That's for 4
sure.
of us.
Sorry, octopi.
Okay, but think about it. My 15 feet wingspan is like me and Blake.
That's what
Like,
I'm
that's
saying.
15.
Yeah,
probably.
that's big for sure.
That's what I'm saying.
That's
As long
that's
as
the
we
same
link
wingspan
arms,
as
we're
me and Blake.
fine.
I don't know. I don't know if playing Rover Red
Yeah.
Rover is gonna help us.
I think it might.
I think with 4 of us though, I think we're fine.
Yeah, we have
Right.
8 arms.
Yeah,
And 4
yeah,
hearts.
I think 4 of you are fine.
And
Too
4
much mass.
and 8
That's
knees.
good. That's good. That's good
Yeah.
assessment.
Too much mass.
8.
I don't know.
Yeah, you know what? And 8 opposable thumbs. Take
Yeah.
that,
That's right.
octopus.
And we can wear cleats.
I think when you're
Ooh, there you go. Now we
yeah,
got
I think when you're looking at the octopus build, fellas, it's right like high IQ, right? I think their attack is decent, but their
Mhm.
defense levels are horrible.
That's
and I
right.
think that's where we can capitalize, no matter what
That's true.
size.
That is a good point.
Now this is
You know,
is
and
it one of those octopuses that can camouflage themselves? So then all of a sudden we're like, oh shit, where's this guy at?
Well, yeah. Well,
I
in
think
this scenario, I
we
thought we
could-
were in just like 3 foot of water. That's just like kind of if we're actually in a habitat.
I'm picturing sandy bottom.
Yeah, that's tough. Nah, I don't know, man. I think
Now-
you win.
now- now it's
I think we got it.
Also, is this 3 feet of water?
I
Are we
think
in like
so.
a ring? Like, can the octopus not escape?
I'm saying it's like a Hunger Games, but it's the ocean. You know what I'm saying? Where like there's a limit.
Then
to how
I don't
far
want
you could
anything to
go.
do with that. I don't want to do
Yeah,
anything
yeah.
with the ocean and the Hunger Games. That sounds like my worst nightmare.
Just saying, there's a force field.
Okay.
Anyways,
Well,
we've
yeah.
we've rambled too long at this point.